Hello, welcome to the newest edition of the Midland Care Leadership Podcast. For this go around, we're going to talk about employee well-being and why that's important, and how you all as leaders at Midland Care Connection can help your employees with their well-being and just what that means. So to help me go through this today, I have Kerri Mosinski, our Chief Administrative Officer, and Lamar, our Director of Human Resources. Kerri, Lamar, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Not that you really had a choice. So before we dive into employee well-being, tell the world one thing that we don't know about you. Lamar, you can go first.
I think, and a lot of people know that I do have a daughter, but I don't think a lot of people know that I have a daughter. I have a daughter that is an adult. So, my daughter's 18 years old, getting ready to go to college. So I have an adult daughter. I don't think a lot of people know that.
We'll say, just like my 18-year-old daughter, she's of adult age. They may not be adults yet. How about that?
Well, I'm so young looking, I think it just throws people off. So
yes, it is very confusing. Kerri, what's one thing we don't know about Kerri Mosinski?
So when I was in college, how I made money, and one of my first real jobs was I was a hot air balloon chaser. And so,
what does that even mean?
So I worked for a company who had a hot air balloon that they used for advertising, and we would drive to different areas that they had their company, and we would put the balloon up and it would fly across town and it would land somewhere. And so I helped get the balloon set up and in the air, and I was in the chase vehicle. So we would have to go across town and find a farm field or something for it to land in. And then we'd have to ask the farmers to give us permission to land. And I could take hot air balloon down quicker than,
What was your official title for that position? Hot air balloon chaser?
Yeah, that's what they called us, the chase crew.
And I have a lot of curiosity about this answer. How did you go to apply for that? Was that like an actual job in the old-fashioned newspapers that you applied for?
No. So I was in college, and we had a festival freshman year, new on campus. I go, and they're giving hot air balloon rides where you would get in the hot air balloon, you'd go up and you'd go down, right? Like it was still tethered, right? And so they said, yes, we're looking for people who would like to chase hot air balloons. And I said,
there you go.
That sounds like fun. And I also, grew up, as a farmer. And so I had a way of talking the farmers into letting us land. And so they said that I was very helpful, because they used to have trouble getting farmers to agree to let balloons land in their
You were good at convincing the farmers.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I had to come in with them.
So it's definitely one thing we did not know about you. So thank you. So we're going to talk today about employee well-being. This is a concept that has become more prevalent, much more discussed, I think, particularly since the pandemic. It's become much more important and with employers, and something that's been talked about much more since then. So we're going to talk about what employee well-being is exactly, what we think it is at least, why it's important, leadership responsibilities around employee well-being, maybe what we at Midland Care and our leaders should do to key in on employee well-being, talk a little bit about our employee assistance program, and then we'll wrap up. So just several things here. So why don't we start with just kind of defining what we think employee well-being is. So Who would like to start and give kind of your best, not necessarily definition, but what you consider to be employee well-being?
So I'll start. I think, kind of the things that you want to look at is, do you enjoy what you do? Is there a path? Is there a career? Is there a future to what you're doing on a day-to-day basis? I think a lot of us, tend to forget that we spend a lot of time here at work. Do we try to do that? A lot of times, no, but, it happens. And, we hate to be at work and we hate to be in a situation where we're spending multiple hours and we just don't like what we do. And, we want to get to a place where we feel like we have a great path, we have a great growth trajectory, and we love what we do. Will we love it every day? That's a question that you have to ask yourself. But do we love it most days? I would hope. And so to me, that's just a small pillar of what employee well-being looks like to me.
Kerri, how would you answer this?
Well, I have my social work hat on, and I would start by saying I think it's got to do with, as a human, how well-being we are, and just as a person, what we do at work directly impacts how we do at home. How it's going at home directly impacts our work. It's all interconnected. So when we're talking about how our employees are doing, we have to take into account that we only have impact on part of the stuff. But that doesn't mean that we can't help people in kind of the wholeness of them as people and their work, their home life, and all of that. Now, are we responsible to fix their home life? No, we're not. But we can help them with resources, which we're going to be talking about more as we go through this podcast. But I think that all of those pieces impact how each of us does as humans, and hence how our employees do overall.
So someone that's maybe struggling with relationships with kids, have something difficult going on at home around that, speaking from experience, that can definitely impact your ability to be fully honed in for work, or someone that's going through a relationship issue with a spouse, caregiving experience, difficulty with parents. I think is what you said, Kerri, those things all significantly impact our ability to fully focus in on what we're doing at work.
Absolutely. And then the reverse. If you're really having a hard time at work, I think it negatively impacts your home life too.
Okay. Thank you both for that. I pulled before this recording, I pulled from Clifton Gallup how they define employee well-being, and they tie it to 5 common elements. They call it 5 common elements of what people need to thrive in their lives. The first is career well-being. The second is social well-being, meaning you have meaningful relationships in your life. The third is financial well-being, that we manage our money well. The fourth is physical well-being. We have the energy to get things done. And the last one is community well-being, that you like where you live. So let's touch on each of those 5 aspects briefly. Lamar, you mentioned in your answer as to what employee well-being means to you. You talked a little bit about career well-being. So maybe we can just go through and talk about what does this look like when it's working well and when it's not, specifically, Lamar, for career well-being.
I think one of the biggest things is, when it's working well, you love coming to work, you love what you do, and you enjoy the people that you work with. You have a sense of ability to get something done. And when you get it done, those people appreciate the fact that you get it done. You hone in on, the way you make people feel just by answering an email. Do they appreciate that? Most do. Do some get frustrated? Sometimes they do, but regardless if you can get into a place where you enjoy what you do, regardless if that's answering an email, sweeping the floor, serving a participant, going to see a patient, that to me is career well-being. If you can come in, and again, I sound almost like a broken record, but I think it's that simple. I think you have to enjoy and love what you do on a daily basis. And, when those days that tend to bring you down, you have to figure out, why you became part of this career and why you wanted to be doing what you're doing. And so we think about career, and I know I tend to get long-winded, so I apologize. And so when we think about career, what does that look like to you? And that's my biggest thing. We always have to ask ourselves that. What does it look like, and what do we want it to look like?
So we all have less than good days where we struggle. But what is a career well-being discussion when it's not going well consistently? What does that look like?
I think when it's not going well, you have to revert back to, and this may sound very simple, right? But you have to revert back to those days to where when things are going well, and those things that kind of guided you into this career. Because when they're not going well, and like you said, those days will come. We have to figure out how we're going to manage that time and manage those days when there tends to be or seems to be a little negativity into what you're doing.
Okay.
Can I jump in?
Please do.
So I think from a manager standpoint, like, how would I know, right? Like, how would I know if somebody does not appear to be doing well, in their career? Like, and I don't mean by but they're just doesn't seem to be working right now. I think you see that through people's quality of work, their productivity of work decreases. It may be that they start calling off a lot. They interact differently with you or with their peers. Those are all kind of red flags that somebody is struggling with their career well-being.
That one, I think, of the 5 that I listed, is the one that we typically see what we're able to most impact as a leader, especially to the employees that are direct reports. So hopefully we are plugged in enough, have doing our rounding, all the things that we really believe are important here within our organization to know that. For that part, I think some of the other 4, social, financial, physical, and community, to me, are the ones where it becomes a little bit more difficult to know kind of what that looks like, good and bad, or what we're supposed to do as a leader, supervisor to our employees. So on the social well-being, Kerri, what do you think are examples of what that looks like when it's going well for an employee and when it's not?
So we have kind of different segments of our life that kind of merge and separate. So, we have people that we work with every day. And so we have social interaction with, our coworkers, our leadership team, our clients. Like, those are all people that we interact with. And, I hope every day that we have employees that have important, meaningful relationships with those that they work with all day long. If you don't, that's a really long, 8 hours in your day if you don't feel like you are having anything but superficial conversations or interactions. So when it's going well, it's like you look forward to people that you're going to see at work. You say hello to people. You can, joke a little bit with them. You can laugh about things. You just have even just short interactions can lift your day. Somebody smiles at you. Those are all things that make us feel better. When something is not going well, you can see somebody looking more withdrawn. So they do not look like they're really interacting with you as their manager or with their coworkers or even their clients. They feel kind of more reserved, more withdrawn, and they may not have that their normal kind of happy spark, right? Like you don't see them smiling, you don't see them joking around at all, that it's just kind of they're doing their business, but there's no real meaningfulness in their interactions.
I would take that maybe a little bit step further, and it's important for our employees, for us to have meaningful relationships personally away from work. And when those aren't going well for whatever reason, that becomes even more of a stressor for engagement, productivity, just doing one's job when here. So that adds to the difficulty. The next one, as we mentioned, was financial well-being. Lamar, why don't you take this one? What does this look like when it's going well and when it's not?
I think when it's going well, and it's really as simple as, you're able to get to work, you're able to pay your bills, you're able to have a lunch, you're able to have those simple things in life that a lot of people take for granted. When it's not going well, I think it goes back to what Kerri said earlier, right? That tends to affect, the home life. That tends to affect your work life. There's a possibility where you might have to pick up a different job, and then that affects, your work-life balance. And so I think of, the Maslow hierarchy of needs, and it's like an upside down pyramid, and it goes into what are the things that you need to survive. And this is generally in the middle of that pyramid. The good thing that I think that we do here, we do a good job of identifying those needs for our staff members. And some of the examples that I will bring to that is, in the wintertime, we hand out jackets. If somebody needs a jacket, we'll go out and buy a jacket for them. We always have meals available for employees. And so I think, for me, one of those financial needs is just, it tends to help with the bare necessities as well. So
someone getting kicked out of their apartment because they can't pay the rent is going to impact their job here.
Yes.
And how they care for the people that we care for. So, that's kind of the probably extreme example, but I know it happens.
It does happen. And, we do try to help them with resources to be able to find housing, be safe, and try to get their life kind of more stable.
The next one's probably the easiest for me to picture when it's going well and not well is physical well-being. Kerri, why don't you take this one?
So I think this is a hard one.
I say it's easy. You say it's hard.
Well, because there's a lot of factors, right? But some people, have much more physically demanding jobs here at Midland than others. Some people are behind a desk. Other people are doing a lot of lifting, a lot of pushing of a lot of different weights and stuff. So, I think that people are more resilient physically when, again, things are going well in their life. I think we see more work-related injuries or injuries even at home and after, in their personal life when they're stressed, because I think people are tighter, they're not as relaxed. And I think, it's when they throw their back out, it's when they take a fall, it's when they're not paying attention. And so, physically, we see more, you can physically see what people are doing if they've hurt a knee or they've thrown their back out. But there's a lot of physical things we can't see. So if somebody gets diagnosed with cancer or diabetes or lung disease. We can't always see those, but all of those could severely impact their ability to do their jobs. And so then there's this kind of push-pull of I need to take care of myself, but at the same time, I can't afford to because I have to be able to do the job that I have. And so part of that is also, how do we help people who may not be physically able to continue to do the job that they are currently doing for Midland? And is there another career path for them? Is there not? Is there another way we can help them? And I think those are all things that we try to take into consideration. And sometimes that's easier than others.
Yeah. I think for all of these, there's things organizationally we can do to encourage healthy behavior and healthy well-being. Mm-hmm. This one probably is more around health insurance benefits and various incentives and things that we need to talk more about as an organization and point people to. But all of it's very important. And the last one is community well-being. To me, this one's probably the hardest one to define. But Lamar, you want to take a stab at it?
I think to me, this is probably one of the most important things. And the reason why I say that is, being someone not born and raised in Kansas, you have to be able to depend on the people around you, whether that's home life or work life. Whether you're getting home late and you have packages sitting on your door and that neighbor goes out and grabs it for you. Whether you're here working with somebody that you've never worked with and you have to depend on them to make sure they're going to get their portion done. So, the entire project is completed. And, with that being said, community to me just kind of drives a lot of the things with some of the pillars that we mentioned earlier, because without that, you lose that quality of life, and the things that come with it. So to me, this is probably, yes, it may be a little difficult to explain, but I do feel like this is one of the more important pieces. And again, that kind of pertains to, individuals as well. So.
Can I jump in? I also think this is where some people strive. Like some people are relationship builders. And when you are a relationship builder, it's easier to get connected to your community. You talk to the people next door. You talk to people at church. People who are not relationship builders have way more difficulty in developing a community. And I do think it is one thing that Midland can help with, because I do think we even build a community within our teams and stuff. And I think it's really important that we work hard to make sure that people feel like they belong, right? And belonging can look like a lot of different things, again, about all these things up above. One of my favorite statements has been to people over the years, like employees specifically, but I really believe it. It's bloom where you are planted, right? Like it is up to you in a lot of ways to figure out how to be happy, right, with where you are. And other people can't make you happy, but we can help people get in an environment where they're able to grow into be happy people, right?
All great points. We'll come back and revisit some of these areas here in a few minutes. Before that, though, I would ask the question of the both of you, like, why is all this important? I mean, well-being's somewhat becoming a buzzword, but why should we care? Why is it important to care about, besides just wanting to be a good human? Why is it important to care about the well-being of our employees?
Because they do better work, they're more productive, they're happier, they stay longer, they have more buy-in, commitment to the organization. I don't know, what else do you think, Lamar?
And I think you said it. They are humans, they're not a robot. And so we want to treat them as such.
All those things go into, in my mind, our organizational performance. We need be able to recruit quality staff to take care of the people that we do. We need to be able to retain them. A huge component of retention is the well-being of our staff and all the components that we just went through. We need engaged employees. It's much harder to have engaged, productive, retained employees if they're struggling with any of these areas. So it's all the things that you guys listed off. And ultimately, to me, the foundation of it comes down to the desire to fulfill our organizational mission, take care of very needy and vulnerable people that we take care of, whether it's in home health, hospice, Meals on Wheels, PACE, etc. And it's very difficult to do that without engaged employees that are here for a reason, that care about what they're doing, that are fully bought in and plugged in to our mission, and all those components that we've gone through, that we're going to continue to go through, play a hugely valuable role in our ability to do that. Next, kind of transitioning from there, from why is it important to how do we help our employees with their well-being? So are we responsible for our employees' well-being as it relates to career, social, financial, physical, and community? So who wants to take a first response on that?
You going or you want me to?
I can start.
Okay.
So I think we hold a portion of that responsibility because, again, we are responsible to make sure that, they're enjoying what they do. Oh, I apologize.
That was Lamar's cell phone. Just for those of you that, since we're not taping this.
I don't know what employee that was, but I'm not going to say their name. No. So I do think we hold a portion of that responsibility. Again, and this is one thing that I talk to everybody about when we're doing new employee orientation, and I thank everybody for choosing Midland Care. There's a multitude of jobs out there, but we want to make sure that they know that they are appreciated. And we want to make sure that they know that we are glad that they are here and then they chose us. I think we forget about those small pieces as we bring in employees. Those small pieces that contribute to their well-being and making them feel welcome. And, we embody that inclusive environment. So I do think a portion of it is our responsibility as a leader, as a manager.
So a few years ago, when we started doing rounding, our very first rounding time that we spent with all the employees across the organization, a consistent message was that our employees did not get to spend enough time with their manager. And I know rounding takes a lot of time and effort and attention, to get it done. But what have we done this now? 4 years? Probably now.
I think so, yeah.
That's not even a thing that gets talked about anymore, right? But you can tell that managers know their employees better, right? And regardless of whether it feels boring or you think you're not making a difference, it is making a difference. And I think that by having meaningful relations between managers and their direct reports, they are helping to make people's careers better because they're listening to what their issues are. Social well-being, they're making sure they feel like they're part of the team. If there's a physical thing going on, that they're talking about it during rounding and they feel like they belong, and all of those things, I think, help make employees' well-being overall feel better. And it didn't take that much effort, right? Like for us with one employee, but every month it builds and it just makes our relationships better.
Makes them better. Like it's good business for our organization to care and we're not, as Lamar said, I think you were trying to say, we're not 100% responsible for our employees' well-being. It's, part of this is on them. Mm-hmm. But it's good business to to be a good human, to care about them, but also it's good for our mission, for all the reasons that we discussed, because work and life are not mutually exclusive. So let's brainstorm just briefly about each of these 5 components and how our leaders specifically can help either facilitate or help employees with certain aspects of them. So career well-being, to me, that is the one that's probably easiest to think about as a leader, supervisor, manager. It's things aren't going well with your employee. You help them try to overcome those obstacles, get them in a better place. Maybe we can help them find a better fit for what their passions are in their career, all those things. Anything to add to that before moving on to the next one?
Well, yes, I think it's also the high performers, right? Like the people who are really rocking it out, right? They need to know that they're doing a really good job, because if they don't know that they're doing a really good job, then they can start sliding too, right? Like, so I think sometimes a lot of our effort gets focused on the people who aren't doing well, and we need to be focusing as much, if not more, on the people who are really doing great work.
Very good point. Yeah. On the social well-being category, we have meaningful relationships in our lives. So if we have direct report that's struggling with some aspect of that, going through a more tumultuous time for whatever reason, how can we as a leader support them?
I think really it goes back to rounding and just asking the question. You know, if you're paying attention to your staff and, you know, something seems to be off, you know, you ask those questions, and it may be something as simple as, you know, I'm unable to, again, I'll go back to the jacket. I'm unable to afford a jacket. You know, I'm unable to afford, you know, school supplies for my child. We can help with that. And so just those simple little questions to ask.
Anything to add there, Kerri?
You know, I guess I would also just, again, be looking for changes, right? Like, you know, somebody who's really happy all of a sudden seeming depressed, right? Like, you know, people who are really struggling, you know, a lot of times start turning inward, and they just need somebody to reach out to them and just say, I see that you're struggling, and what can we do to help? And, you know.
And so in that example, they give that to you. My father's been in and out of the hospital a dozen times this last year. I'm really struggling to properly support him and care for him.
How would you respond to that? So I would say first, you know, in what way are you struggling to respond to that? You know, is it that you don't have enough time off? You know, is it that you need resources for caregivers and stuff? And so I would refer them to EAP to one, maybe help with somebody just to talk through it, because they may not have anybody to talk to them about the situation. 2, our EAP always has lots of resources and you know, just resources that can help somebody walk through what's available in the community, how you pay for it, and all of those things. Sometimes they just need somebody to listen, and you don't have to fix it at all. And I think
that's a good point. That
is, you know, I've done this to Lamar before, and I'm like, are you just wanting me to listen, or do you want me to solve it? Like, right? Like, which is it? Like, I can be a great listener, or if you want me to have my brainstorming hat on, that's okay too.
Well, I do enjoy when we're solving the world's biggest problem. So,
for financial well-being, so we can provide resources. Again, we'll keep throwing out the EAP, and we'll talk about that more here to end. But we can refer employees to EAP. We can help find, as Lamar mentioned, resources. We can help provide those in some cases for a coach or some of the more immediate type of things. what are some other things that come to mind of how we can support employees with that? I'll throw in something that I don't know that we've necessarily done here, but we should talk about is providing education to employees about how to manage finances. So not necessarily having a sponsored Dave Ramsey plan, but providing education from a credit counseling organization in town to employees that want to take that and learn how to budget and learn how to spend less than they make, and just things like some of those things aren't necessarily intuitive to our general society. So any additional thoughts?
No, we have been offering some education about financial stuff. Some of it's been related to our savings, and some has been general budgeting, but I think it's something we need to do a lot more of.
Yeah.
And we need to think about how we get people there.
How to incentivize that. Yeah, that's a good point. Physical well-being, again, the fourth area, we talked a little, we can incentivize certain things with health insurance. We need to talk more about some of those things in the future now that we've moved to a different company that's helping us facilitate our health insurance, looking at different incentives. But what are some other ways to support our employees as it relates to the physical part of the well-being? Just we're running out of time, so just real briefly.
I think, something as simple as, and I see this a lot in the summer months, get somebody and, kind of start walking. There's about 2 or 3 people that I always see walking past my window around, our little pavement area. Sometimes, HR, we put on our shoes, take off our dress shoes and put on our tennis shoes and walk around just to kind of get away from the computer screen and to get some fresh air. So I think, grab that person next to you and just say, hey, do you want to walk? Do you want to get away from computer screen and let's just go get some fresh air? Whether you're outside, 5 minutes or 20 minutes, just to kind of get away.
The other thing I would say is more training, again, for how to be healthy. So we did a training on people who sit all the time and, how to do chair yoga and to stretch and all of that. And we had a great response on that. And I think we need to do more of it. Sean uses it regularly.
I need to check into the chair yoga, apparently. Yes,
I'll send you the handout.
Let's end about talking about our EAP. So that is a resource that we have had, that most organizations have. We have switched who our EAP is. So Lamar, can you talk just a little bit about who that company is and how we specifically as leaders should be using it?
So we used to have New Direction. We are now with Support Link. As a leader, this kind of goes into asking those questions and providing those resources. The great thing about our EAP services, it offers a variety of things, whether that's, counseling services, education planning, adult and childcare resources. And I want to, highlight that again, adult and childcare resources, because this tends to be, a lingering issue with, a good amount of our employees. It offers health coaching for, life coaching, retirement coaching, again, a wide variety of things. So, if you have any questions and you want any additional information, please reach out to us. We have a multitude of things that we can provide to you to provide to your staff. One thing that I appreciated with a lot of our managers is they come and ask us for those EAP cards so they can provide that to their staff when they're asking those questions and when they're needing help and when they're reaching out, because you want to be that support piece for them as well.
So can I jump in a couple of things about our new EAP? We have increased the number of counseling sessions available from 6 to 8. Is that right? That people can qualify for. And again, this is for the employee, but also their family. So it's their spouse, it's their kids. If their kid is away for college, they can still access it. I think they've also done a lot of work, SupportLink has, in how to connect to employees. So, you can do the traditional sit down with somebody face to face for a counseling session, but they now have, you can join support groups online. You can also have a life coach that you're texting when you're having problems. You can do video counseling. You can do text counseling. It's kind of whatever fits in your life. They also have a counselor who answers the phone 24 hours a day. So if you're having a mental health crisis or you have a child who has one, 2:00 in the morning, you can call and a counselor will answer.
And they do hold strict confidentiality standards. So meaning, no one, including, your employer, your supervisor, will know, what you're talking about.
So I will say this is something that we feel is a better resource for our staff than the previous EAP we were using. We are paying for this as an organization, and we want our employees to use this. So they should not see it. We as leaders, I think, need to help reduce the stigma associated with this, if there is one. This is to help our employees with all these aspects that we mentioned, to get assistance, resources, work through things, whatever that is. We're paying for it. We want our employees to use it. And this particular company, say it again, Lamar? SupportLink is more accessible than what the new directions we have been using. Nothing against new directions. So would encourage us all to learn more about this and encourage use among staff when we see that as a potential need. So,
and we will start sending out trainings to all of our staff, including the managers, probably in the next week or so. From SupportLink, they have educational materials to provide staff a overview of what services they have available.
Thank you to both, Lamar, Kerri. Appreciate you joining me today. Hopefully you all found this to be helpful. This went a little bit longer than what we typically do, and I think that's intentionally because this is such an important topic. So this is, to be honest, something that probably 15, 20 years ago, I would have rolled my eyes at as an organizational leader or supervisor. I was like, oh, why are we talking about this? People used to come in and do their jobs. But as hopefully we all, including myself, become more mature person and just go through life experiences yourself or myself, something that I become more aware of and care more about, and also believe it also more than ever ties into organizational department program performance as well. So
and health, just
overall. And overall health. So would encourage you all to think more about this, talk with each other, talk with us. Think about how we can be doing this better as an organization. We're always open to an assessment and ideas on that, and we'll continue to talk through this and work through things and offer different resources perhaps than what we are now. So thank you for joining us and for all that you do. Until next time.